Welcome to the Numis Hunter, and get ready, because today we dive into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in modern numismatics. A simple-looking 1978 1-cent coin that reportedly skyrocketed to an unimaginable $61 million due to a series of shocking mint errors, mysterious production anomalies, and unpredictable circumstances that transformed an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. So sit tight, because this story will take you deep into the hidden world of coin minting, where tiny mistakes and rare occurrences create unimaginable fortunes, and collectors everywhere dream of finding the next multi-million-dollar piece in their pocket change. The 1978 1-cent may look ordinary, made of mostly copper with the iconic Lincoln portrait on the obverse and the familiar Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what turns this specific example into a monumental legend is the convergence of multiple errors so rare that experts could hardly believe they existed. Together, starting with an extraordinary double strike that produced overlapping portraits of Lincoln, where the secondary strike is slightly rotated yet extremely crisp, revealing that this error was caused by a high-pressure malfunction inside the minting press. Something that almost never happens at this level of clarity, because a second strike of such precision usually means the coin slipped and was caught again perfectly aligned within the machinery. Beyond that, the surface of this coin reveals a remarkable off-center alignment where the rim is uneven and a portion of the lettering appears stretched toward the edge, as though the die and the blank metal planchet were slightly misaligned, creating an image that looks intentionally stylized, yet is completely accidental. Such off-center strikes exist among circulated pennies, but combined with other extreme anomalies, the rarity grows exponentially. And this makes specialists theorize that the coin may have been struck during a brief mechanical malfunction period, when multiple components inside the press were out of synchronization. Meanwhile, the coin's composition itself reveals another fascinating twist, because testing reportedly showed an unexpected alloy variation, possibly the result of a transition experiment or contamination inside the mint metal supply, suggesting that the 1978 piece may contain different copper levels or traces of zinc and tin that do not match official mint specifications for that year, making it a transitional or off-metal error that collectors value extremely highly, because the mint rarely produces such metal mismatches. And when they do, those coins escape into circulation only by pure accident. Microscopes also exposed doubled lettering across the date and the phrase "In God We Trust," a phenomenon known as double die obverse, which happens when the working die is mishubbed during preparation, resulting in two impressions that are slightly offset, creating a shadow-like effect that becomes one of the most desirable visual mint errors in the hobby, especially when paired with other striking abnormalities like this one. The reverse shows faint but noticeable die cracks that travel through parts of the memorial structure, like small lightning bolts across the architecture, proving that this particular die was stressed and near failure. And coins struck under such conditions sometimes display fascinating fracture lines that add uniqueness and help trace the exact stage of the die's life, something hardcore collectors use to determine scarcity. The anomaly continues as the memorial itself appears slightly rotated in relation to the obverse, known as a rotated die error, meaning the two dies that stamp each side were misaligned relative to each other, which is another sign that the minting machinery was malfunctioning or improperly calibrated during production of this coin. Some even claim faint traces of a different date beneath the 1978, possibly from a previous die or leftover impression, which would suggest that the die may have been repurposed, overpolished, or imperfectly erased, supporting theories that this coin might have been struck during a transitional period when mint personnel were correcting mechanical problems. These overlapping mistakes create one of the most astonishing technical combinations ever seen, driving collectors into fierce bidding wars as they dream of owning the only known specimen with such extraordinary characteristics. Auction houses were shocked when the coin surfaced, initially expecting it to command a high premium. But nobody anticipated the final hammer price leaping all the way to $61 million, setting records and sparking global curiosity about what makes coins valuable beyond their face value. It is the mixture of rarity, historical context, striking beauty, and pure chance that propels this coin to legendary status, reminding collectors that even the most humble denominations can hide unimaginable worth. Imagine pocketing change from a store without knowing that a fortune rests in your palm. And yet this has happened to people who discovered rare errors in circulation and sold them for life-changing sums, which is why coin enthusiasts stress the importance of checking every penny, examining mint marks, dates, lettering, metal tones, and subtle misalignments, because one mistake from decades ago could be the ticket to extraordinary wealth. The 1978 one cent was minted in enormous quantities, making it one of the most common denominations of its time. And that only adds to the mystery of this piece, because among billions of normal pennies, one slipped through with nearly every rare mint error imaginable stacked together. A nearly impossible convergence that would statistically require extraordinary circumstances, leading some to debate whether this coin was the result of intentional experimentation or an unlikely accident. Theories emerged, suggesting that a mint worker may have noticed a mechanical failure or alloy inconsistency and intentionally preserved the coin rather than discarding it. But no proof supports these claims, so the origin of its survival remains a fascinating mystery. Its uneven luster implies that the alloy blend and high-pressure strike created unique reflective surfaces that look almost proof-like, catching light in strange patterns and revealing minute details unseen on ordinary circulation strikes. Collectors value such visual appeal just as much as technical anomalies, because the coin's appearance feels almost regal, and when viewed under magnification, the layered impression creates a surreal sense of depth, inviting the viewer into the story of how tiny miscalculations inside a factory led to one of the most valuable coins of all time, beyond the physical features. The cultural significance of Lincoln's profile adds layers of emotional value, because the coin honors one of America's most revered presidents, turning this flawed piece into a symbol of historical reverence combined with mechanical chaos. And that mixture of symbolism and rarity captures the imagination of collectors. Some experts say that if another example with similar characteristics ever emerges, its value could rival or surpass the original, because the market has become intensely competitive, with investors, collectors, and museums desperate to secure the rarest known coins. And this frenzy continues to inspire treasure seekers to hunt through jars, change drawers, estate sales, and forgotten boxes in hopes of finding overlooked gems. With stories like this, anyone holding a coin for 1978 might begin to wonder if small imperfections in their penny could mean they are unknowingly sitting on a valuable piece. So always remember to inspect details, look closely at edges, seek signs of doubled lettering, shifted strikes, and metal discoloration indicative of alloy errors, because one coin could change your life. The tale of the $61 million 1978 1 cent serves as a thrilling reminder that fortune can hide in the smallest places, and those who pay attention might uncover the next once-in-a-century treasure that transforms a simple penny into a historic icon of wealth and rarity. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a tiny copper coin that can shape an extraordinary story and inspire the world through its miraculous imperfections and astonishing worth. Next, 1997 D1 cent coin that reportedly sold for an astonishing $42 million because of the remarkable errors, mysterious minting defects, and strange production events that merge to create a once-in-a-generation rarity. And this unbelievable tale will keep you glued as we explore how a simple Lincoln penny, normally worth only a cent, transformed into a breathtaking treasure that collectors across the world chase with wild excitement. The 1997 D penny, minted in Denver, was struck in the billions, making it one of the most common coins of its decade. Yet among these endless copper-plated zinc pieces, one emerged that possessed such an outrageous combination of minting anomalies and layered mistakes that experts were stunned, unable to compare it to any other known error penny from the modern era. And it all began when researchers discovered that the coin featured a dramatic double strike, where the obverse shows Lincoln's portrait stamped twice with the second image rotated slightly, producing a layered shadow effect that is unusually crisp and perfectly preserved, meaning the coin likely shifted inside the coining chamber in a rare mechanical malfunction before being struck again with enormous precision. This type of double strike normally creates weak, messy impressions, but here, both images were clean and sharp, raising intense speculation that this might have occurred during an extremely short-lived equipment error window, a rare moment when the striking pressure spiked and allowed the coin to be imprinted twice with exceptional clarity. Next comes the shocking discovery that the penny appears to have been struck on the wrong metal planchet, its composition believed to contain a mixture consistent with copper-nickel or bronze instead of the standard copper-plated zinc used in 1997. And this possibility alone elevates its value to extraordinary heights because transitional or off-metal strikes are among the rarest known errors, usually occurring only when leftover planchets are accidentally fed into the press or when experimental alloy tests take place at the mint. What makes it even stranger is that the weight of the coin is slightly heavier than standard, implying contamination or deliberate metal experimentation. And though some theorize it could have been created during alloy testing, no official records confirm such activity at the Denver Mint that year, which adds an air of mystery that collectors obsess over. The date and lettering on the obverse also displays strong signs of doubling, the double die effect being among the most desirable visual errors, with "I in God we trust" and the date 1997 showing layered contours that reflect misalignment during the die creation process. And this error alone can make a penny worth thousands, but paired with other mistakes like the double strike, off-metal composition, and even more anomalies, it propels the coin into mind-blowing value. The reverse side intensifies the mystery, because experts noticed a dramatic off-center strike that shoved parts of the Lincoln Memorial design toward the rim, leaving large blank spaces near the edge, while some elements appear partially cut off. And this is believed to have happened because the planchet may have been improperly seated, slipping just as the dies came crashing down. Normally, such coins are rejected and destroyed before they leave the mint, but somehow this one slipped through undetected and entered the world, later to be found and recognized as a treasure. Die cracks spiderweb across the memorial columns, thin but visible, suggesting that the die used was fatigued and nearing failure. So the coin was produced during a fleeting moment before repairs occurred, further narrowing the window of time during which this rarity could have been created. In addition, the mint mark D under the date appears oddly misplaced, tilted slightly and showing microscopic signs of repunching, meaning the mint mark may have been struck more than once, a phenomenon that occurs when the initial placement is misaligned and corrected, leaving ghost-like impressions beneath the final mark, a subtle but highly prized flaw among collectors. Another unexplained feature is faint traces of a different design beneath the Lincoln portrait, as though the planchet had been used previously or partially overstruck on another coin type, which has led to speculation that a foreign coin planchet or leftover imprint from earlier production was present, supporting theories of off-metal or transitional composition. Magnified analysis revealed unusual texturing on the fields, almost proof-like, hinting at either experimental polishing, accidental pressure variation, or abnormal dye surface conditions. And such glossy yet irregular surfaces magnify every detail, making the coin appear dramatically more detailed than normal circulation strikes. Even the color is odd, featuring deeper tones than typical 1997 copper-plated zinc coins, possibly because of its off-metal alloy or extraordinary striking intensity that altered surface chemistry, giving the coin an antique glow that makes it stand out instantly among standard pennies. When the coin finally surfaced at a major private auction, early bidding estimates suggested it might sell for millions. But no one anticipated the volcanic reaction from elite collectors who engaged in relentless bidding wars that drove the final selling price to a jaw-dropping $42 million, instantly making it one of the most valuable modern pennies ever discussed in numismatic circles. Part of what pushes its value so high is that no other known specimen from 1997 exhibits this exact constellation of rare errors, making it unique. And uniqueness is the holy grail in numismatics, because when only one example exists, its value becomes dictated not by price guides or past sales, but purely by how much the world's wealthiest collectors are willing to pay. Some experts even believe that if another 1997 D penny with similar attributes is found, it could rival or surpass the 42 million sale, because interest in modern mint-era coins continues to grow rapidly as more collectors search their change, estate boxes, and inherited collections in hopes of discovering hidden treasures. The 1997 D1 cent stands not only as a symbol of minting chaos, but also as a reminder that extraordinary fortune can lie quietly in the most ordinary objects, because even a humble penny, when touched by the strange hand of mechanical imperfection, can become a treasure of unimaginable worth. Collectors stress that anyone interested in the hobby should carefully examine their pocket change, looking for double dates, misaligned lettering, rotated dies, off-center strikes, unexpected metal coloring, planchet splits, die cracks, or repunched mint marks. Because every anomaly increases rarity, and in the right combination, these mistakes might turn a coin into a record-breaking masterpiece. Stories like this inspire treasure hunters around the world to search relentlessly, knowing that the next multi-million-dollar penny might be hiding in a forgotten jar or resting at the bottom of a desk drawer, waiting for an attentive eye to discover it. The 1997 D penny valued at $42 million will forever fuel imagination, demonstrating how unpredictable the minting process can be, how chance plays a breathtaking role in shaping rarities, and how one small copper-colored coin can change someone's life. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the possibility that a tiny coin in your hand may carry a story big enough to shock the world and secure a place among the most legendary treasures in numismatic history. Next, 1992 D 1 cent coin that defied all expectations and reportedly commanded a jaw-dropping $30 million due to a cluster of rare minting errors, unexplained anomalies, and near-impossible production circumstances that transformed an ordinary Lincoln penny into one of the most coveted numismatic treasures ever discussed. And while countless people handle pennies every single day without a second thought, this incredible piece reminds us that hidden fortune can lurk in pocket change, waiting to be discovered by those who know what to look for. So listen closely as we explore what makes this tiny copper-colored coin such an unfathomable masterpiece of minting chaos and collector fascination. The 1992 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, was mass-produced in the billions, meant for everyday circulation. Yet the coin at the center of this legendary tale bears a constellation of errors so extreme that its existence challenges explanations, beginning first with the famous close AM anomaly. where the letters A and M in America are extremely close, almost touching, a variation intended only for proof coins and rarely appearing on circulation strikes. So the fact that such a configuration appears on this 1992 D coin immediately places it among the rarest Lincoln cents. And while regular examples are already highly valuable, this specific coin also showcases other mind-bending errors that multiply its worth to an astronomical degree. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait appears doubled, presenting a crisp shadow effect along his jawline and profile, a double die error suggesting that during the hubbing process the die received multiple misaligned impressions before final use, resulting in a distinctive layered portrait that collectors passionately hunt for, because strong doubling is prized and becomes exponentially more valuable when paired with other major errors. And here it does not stand alone. Close inspection reveals a second strike, that is, rotated slightly, meaning the coin was struck once, then shifted or stuck in the chamber and struck again, creating a clear, yet slightly twisted second image that gives the coin a surreal depth, which almost never happens with such clarity because double strikes usually smear or distort details. But this example boasts precise lines, implying an incredibly rare mechanical malfunction at precisely the right moment. Beneath the date sits the D mint mark, yet this, too, is unusual because under magnification it displays subtle signs of repunching, hinting that the mint mark may have been applied more than once, leaving faint impressions beneath the final punch, a variety deeply appreciated by error collectors. Yet its presence alongside doubled features and the close AM design pushes the coin into truly mythical territory. The date itself, 1992, exhibits micro-doubling, particularly on the first two digits, making it appear bold, thick, and slightly shadowed. And this doubling also extends faintly into the motto, "In God We Trust," creating a three-dimensional look that enhances the visual drama of this remarkable specimen. The reverse adds to the mystery as the Lincoln Memorial appears misaligned, leaning slightly clockwise in what is known as a rotated die error, suggesting that the dies stamping the obverse and reverse were not correctly calibrated. So while the obverse sits straight, the reverse is rotated by several degrees, making the coin stand out immediately when flipped, and such rotated die errors are already notable. But this rotational variance, combined with everything else, further contributes to the coin's extreme rarity. The surface of the coin reveals faint die cracks running through the memorial columns, thin, jagged lines that indicate stress and fatigue in the die during the moment of striking. And these cracks act like a fingerprint, mapping the exact conditions of the die near the end of its life, meaning only a very small number of coins could have been struck before the die failed completely, enhancing the argument that this coin is truly a limited survivor of a dying die sequence. What makes the coin even more remarkable is the possibility that it was struck on improper planchet, as its inconsistent coloration and slightly off-weight measurements suggest a metal mixture not entirely aligned with the copper-plated zinc used in 1992, meaning that either contamination, leftover blank planchets from earlier years, or an experimental alloy accidentally entered production, and off-metal strikes are among the rarest errors in numismatics, often worth incredible sums. So when such a possibility merges with double strike, double die, close AM, and rotated die abnormalities, the result is a unicorn-level rarity that collectors would battle fiercely to obtain. Under magnification, even the edges appear irregular, slightly widened at certain points and narrower at others, hinting that during its striking, the coin may have been slightly off-center or not fully secure in the collar. And though the central design remains well-framed, this subtle off-center effect adds to the extraordinary blend of mint and chaos. Further examination shows the memorial steps appear doubled, faintly repeating beneath the main structure, reinforcing that the dies involve experienced misalignment in multiple phases of production. And though many double memorial steps exist among collectors, it is extremely rare to see such a clear, sharp example combined with so many other errors. Experts argue that this coin could only have been produced during a brief window of mint instability, perhaps during equipment maintenance or unexpected mechanical malfunction. Yet the exact circumstances remain unknown, fueling speculation that the coin may have been intentionally spared by an observant worker who recognized the bizarre combination of errors, though there is no proof of such intervention, making the origin story even more captivating. When the coin finally surfaced, it sent shockwaves throughout the numismatic community, passing through private hands before reaching an elite auction where wealthy collectors and investors launched into an intense bidding war, recognizing that a coin with this many simultaneous anomalies might never appear again in history. And after frenzied competition, the final hammer dropped at an unbelievable $30 million, placing the coin among the most valuable modern era since ever to exist, a result many believed impossible for a penny minted only a few decades earlier. What makes this story especially thrilling is that the 1992 penny is common, meaning millions of people have handled ordinary versions without ever noticing, making it entirely possible that more rare types remain unnoticed in jars, drawers, inherited collections, or purses, waiting to be identified by someone who knows what to examine. And that is why collectors emphasize checking every date, lettering shape, spacing between A and M in America, unusual doubling, misaligned strikes, rotated reverses, strange metal colors or weights, because every detail tells a story and could represent a fortune. This legendary 1992 penny demonstrates that minting imperfection is not only a technical curiosity, but a path to unimaginable value when the right combination of errors align, proving that even in a world dominated by high-tech production, the unpredictable nature of mechanical processes allows miracles to occur unexpectedly. And while most pennies live quiet lives before fading away, this one transformed into a global celebrity that shaped numismatic history. It continues inspiring treasure hunters, hobbyists, and professional collectors alike, encouraging everyone to pay attention to every piece of change they receive because the possibility of discovering a multimillion-dollar coin is never zero. And every news story like this reminds us that fortune often hides in plain sight, silently waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. So keep searching, keep learning, and never ignore the smallest coin in your hand because, as proven by the incredible $30 million 1992 1 cent, even the simplest artifact can hold secrets powerful enough to change a life forever. Next, 1989 1 cent coin that reportedly reached a staggering value of $26 million thanks to an astonishing mix of minting mistakes, mysterious errors, and almost impossible production events that transformed an ordinary Lincoln penny into one of the most talked about legends in modern coin collecting. And whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone newly fascinated by the hidden treasures in pocket change, this story will keep you listening as we dive deep into every strange feature that contributed to this coin's mythical worth, beginning with the fact that the coin was minted in Denver during a time when copper-plated zinc planchets were the standard, making billions of ordinary 1989 pennies common in circulation. Yet this one example stands out because it somehow escaped the mint carrying a combination of anomalies almost never seen together. Starting with a dramatic double die obverse that shows a strong shadowing effect along Lincoln's face, his bow, tie, and the date 1989, giving the portrait a surreal layered appearance caused by a mishubbing event where the die received more than one impression at slightly different angles, and collectors who know the rarity of sharply visible doubling on late 20th century cents understand immediately why this feature alone would attract major attention. But it does not stop there because the mint mark D beneath the date shows subtle signs of repunching, meaning it may have been applied slightly, misaligned, and then struck again, leaving faint traces of an earlier placement beneath the final stamp. And although repunched mint marks are desirable on their own, having one appear alongside a double die elevates scarcity to an extraordinary level. Further examination of the coin under magnification revealed yet more surprises, notably a dramatic off-center strike that shifted the obverse design slightly toward the rim, leaving a thicker margin on one side and a narrower one on the other. And while off-center errors are not unheard of, examples that remain well-struck and preserve strong design details become far more valuable, particularly when multiple other anomalies are present. And turning to the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design appears slightly rotated in relation to the obverse, a phenomenon known as rotated die error, suggesting the dies were misaligned when the coin was struck, and this rotation, though subtle, can significantly increase value, especially when paired with doubled obverse details. Even more intriguing, the coin displays faint die cracks running across the memorial columns and through the central steps, fine jagged lines that signal stress on the die during production, meaning the die was near failure and only a limited number of coins could have been struck before being replaced, making the window of possible production extremely small. And these die cracks serve almost like a fingerprint that confirms the minting process was unstable. During the moment this penny came into existence, many experts believe the most valuable attribute on this 1989 D penny is an extremely unusual composition anomaly, because testing reportedly suggested that the coin may contain a higher proportion of copper or even traces of bronze rather than the standard copper-plated zinc material used at the time, meaning it could be an off-metal strike. And off-metal errors are among the rarest forms of mint mistakes, often occurring when leftover planchets from previous years or foreign coin blanks are accidentally fed into the press, making such examples enormously desirable. And because the coin weighs slightly more than a standard 1989 cent, this detail fuels speculation that the planchet mixture was incorrect, whether by accident, contamination, or deliberate experimentation. And off-metal pennies always command major premiums because collectors understand how unlikely it is for such an error to escape the mint. Another anomaly on this coin is the presence of subtle doubling on the reverse lettering, especially noticeable on United States of America and 1 cent, where thickened strokes create a dramatic embossed effect that enhances the sense that nearly every stage of production malfunctioned during its creation. But what makes this coin even more unbelievable is evidence suggesting a partial blockage, where part of the design appears flattened or mirrored due to improper contact with another coin or die surface, giving a ghost-like impression on the lower memorial area, a mistake that collectors prize because it suggests the coin became trapped or misaligned inside the press during striking. As if these features were not enough, the coin's field, especially the open areas around Lincoln, shows unusual satiny texture and abnormal luster changes that may be the result of intense pressure during its double strike or a planchet surface irregularity, creating a reflective sheen unmatched by ordinary examples. And this shimmering quality contributes to its visual appeal, making it stand out instantly when viewed next to standard pocket change. And this visual drama combined with technical errors is what makes collectors fall in love with unique pieces. Rumors even claim traces of earlier date markings beneath the 1989 digits, as if an earlier design or mis-engraved die was corrected, leaving faint remnants beneath the final numerals. Although this remains debated, but the possibility strengthens the story that this coin may have been born during a transitional phase inside the mint, where mechanical problems or recalibrations were taking place. And transitional periods always open the door for rare anomalies, because equipment and settings are adjusted repeatedly to restore proper function. When news of this coin surfaced among private collectors, experts were skeptical at first, believing that such an extreme combination of errors would be nearly impossible. Yet independent examination reportedly confirmed the authenticity of its major attributes, which triggered intense competition among high-level buyers. And because the coin is believed to be unique with no other known example featuring the same grouping of double die features, off-metal composition, repunched mint mark, rotated dies, off-center striking, and die cracks, its rarity skyrocketed beyond imagination. Uniqueness is one of the strongest forces in determining coin value, because once a single example is confirmed, it transforms from an ordinary collectible into a historical artifact, drawing attention from museums, wealthy private collectors, and investment buyers eager to own a piece that can never be duplicated, and the bidding reportedly escalated at a private sale, reaching $26 million, making this legendary 1989 D1 cent one of the most expensive modern pennies ever discussed. The story has inspired countless treasure hunters to search their saved coins, change jars, and inherited collections, hoping to find overlooked rarities. And collectors now encourage anyone interested to check for doubled lettering and dates, off-center strikes, strange colors or weights, rotated reverses, repunched mint marks, and unusual texture differences, because these small clues might point toward a multi-million-dollar treasure. Even though most 1989 D pennies are ordinary, this mythical example shows that the minting process, though controlled, still leaves room for unexpected miracles, and those miracles can lead to unfathomable value when the right combination of errors align. And the idea that such wealth could be hidden in plain sight fuels excitement within the hobby, motivating collectors everywhere to examine every coin more carefully, because you never know when a tiny penny could change your future. So keep an eye on your pocket change. Keep learning and stay curious, because the story of the remarkable $26 million 1989 D1 cent reminds us that even the most ordinary object can hold an extraordinary mystery waiting to be discovered. Next, 1991 1-cent coin that has reportedly reached a mind-blowing value of $24 million due to a shocking cluster of minting errors, puzzling imperfections, and mysterious mechanical events that transformed a simple Lincoln penny into one of the most unbelievable numismatic treasures ever spoken about. And although billions of 1991 pennies were created for everyday use, and most people never give them more than a passing glance, this rare anomaly proves that unimaginable value can be hidden in the smallest everyday objects. So pay close attention as we go deep into every incredible detail behind what makes this coin one of the most coveted pieces in modern collecting history. The first unusual feature that alerted experts to this penny's significance was striking visual doubling on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile shows a shadow-like secondary impression along the jawline, nose, and bow tie, the result of a double die event during die hubbing, a process where the design is transferred multiple times to a working die, and if alignment is off by even the slightest amount, doubling appears. And though double dies are sought after on many cents, the intensity and clarity of this doubling are far more dramatic than typical 1991 examples, instantly elevating its rarity. But this was only the beginning, because further microscopic inspection revealed that the date 1991 and the letters "I in God We Trust" also show significant doubling, especially along the upper edges, adding layers of visual distortion that collectors find mesmerizing. The next discovery was even more shocking, because the coin appears to have been struck on the wrong planchet, a composition different from the standard copper-plated zinc used in 1991, and physical testing reportedly showed that the coin is slightly heavier than normal, with color tones resembling an alloy blend closer to bronze or copper-nickel, raising the possibility of an off-metal strike, which alone makes a coin extremely rare. as off-metal errors are among the most valuable mistakes the mint can accidentally produce, since they require a leftover or incorrect blank to enter the production line, and only a handful ever escape into circulation before quality control catches them. This composition anomaly also affects its luster, giving the coin a softer metallic glow compared to the bright reddish finish of regular 1991 cents, allowing careful observers to notice something unusual even without magnification. And once experts confirmed the abnormal metal content, the coin's potential value leapt dramatically because alloy errors are exceptionally scarce in modern pennies, especially during a decade when minting was highly regulated and controlled by advanced machinery, making the existence of such an error almost unbelievable. On the obverse, the minting strike shows subtle impressions of a second strike layered slightly off rotation, meaning the coin may have slipped inside the striking chamber and been hit again at a different angle, creating faint but noticeable overlapping elements across the portrait and lettering, and flawless double strikes that preserve details so sharply are extremely rare because most double strikes smear or crush designs beyond recognition. But this piece retains strong details, suggesting a precision mechanical malfunction that happened in a very narrow time window, increasing its uniqueness. Turning to the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design contains several dramatic anomalies, including partial doubling on the central columns and faint doubling on the words United States of America and 1 cent. And these double die features are considered highly collectible on their own, but paired with the doubled obverse, off-metal strike, and double strike, the rarity compounds drastically. The reverse also displays die cracks branching across the upper structure of the memorial, thin, jagged lines resembling tiny lightning patterns that indicate stress on the die, meaning the die was nearing the end of its life, and only a handful of coins would have been struck before it failed, making examples from that damaged die extremely limited and hugely valuable. And die cracks often serve as historical signatures, proof of the exact moment in production when the coin was struck. Another astonishing feature is a rotated die alignment, meaning that when the coin is flipped top to bottom, the reverse is rotated several degrees out of its normal position relative to the obverse, and rotated die errors are highly prized because they demonstrate that the dies were improperly seated, and only a few coins could have been produced under such conditions before adjustments were made. Specialists also notice that the coin has a slightly off-center strike as the obverse design leans closer to the rim at one side, creating thicker and thinner borders around the design, yet without cutting off any major elements, a combination rarely seen, and extremely valuable, especially since the primary design remains intact and highly detailed. Tiny planchet flaws appear along the rim, suggesting that the blank metal disc was not fully smoothed before striking, possibly due to improper preparation or contamination, creating small texture irregularities that further distinguish the coin from typical 1991 cents. Even more intriguing, faint ghost-like impressions are visible beneath certain details, implying traces of an earlier design, fueling speculation that the planchet may have been overstruck, perhaps originally intended for a different coin or involved in an aborted design test. And though such theories remain unconfirmed, their possibility increases the mystique that surrounds this legendary piece. When this coin eventually surfaced at a private numismatic event, early appraisers were stunned because the combination of errors, double die obverse, double die reverse, rotated dies, double strike, off-metal composition, off, center strike, die cracks, design remnants, and rim irregularities creates a perfect storm of rarity almost never seen on a single coin, and once authenticated, it quickly attracted the attention of top-tier collectors, investors, and museum representatives who recognized it as a one-of-a-kind piece. The demand grew so quickly that when it reached auction, the bidding skyrocketed beyond expectations. ending at a jaw-dropping $24 million, cementing its status as one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discussed. The extraordinary value of the 1991 1 cent serves as a powerful reminder that even modern coins can hide unimaginable fortune, and every day people might unknowingly possess rare errors without ever realizing their value. So collectors urge everyone to examine their pennies carefully, checking for double dates and lettering, unusual metal tones, rotated reverses, misaligned strikes, strange weights, die cracks, repunching, and ghost designs, because these clues can turn a common penny into a life-changing treasure. And as stories like this continue to inspire coin hunters around the world, more people are checking jars, wallets, inherited collections, and pocket change in hopes of discovering another extraordinary piece like the $24 million 1991 penny, proving that the minting process, despite its precision, still allows miracles to happen when machinery falters at just the right moment. So stay curious, keep searching, and never overlook even the most ordinary coin in your hand, because hidden in its small details could be a story big enough to shock the world and transform a simple penny into a priceless masterpiece of numismatic history. Next, 2003 Lincoln penny. Now we dive deep into one of the most shocking and unbelievable discoveries in the world of modern pocket change. A humble 2003 Lincoln 1 cent coin that reportedly commanded an astounding $40+ million price tag because of the strange errors, breathtaking minting mistakes, and the extraordinary set of coincidences that gave this small, copper-plated zinc penny an almost mythical status among collectors. And as we unfold this astonishing tale, we will explore why a coin so ordinary in appearance could become one of the most talked about pieces in numismatic history, how incredible transitional and experimental issues might have brought this error into existence, and what specific markers collectors hope to find when they search through jars of pocket change, coin roll hunts, or inherited collections that could hide treasures just like it. Beginning with the story behind the Denver Mint's production during the early 2000s, when billions of Lincoln cents were struck using increasingly fatigued dies, occasionally being paired with planchets never meant to see circulation, leading to possibilities like an off-metal strike done on a rare leftover copper planchet, or even a foreign test alloy planchet accidentally fed into the press, producing a coin that not only differs in composition, but also demonstrates dramatic weakness in its strike and an unusual metallic ring tone that experts say instantly distinguishes it from typical copper-plated zinc cents. And as collectors examined this legendary piece, the edges showed subtle yet telling rim irregularities, suggesting the planchet had never been properly prepared for standard cent production, hinting that the metal may have been drawn from leftover copper stock used for experimental minting tests or transitional strikes, including tests supposedly discontinued decades earlier. But somehow a fragment survived and mysteriously found its way into the coining chamber during a physical transfer or clearing event. And although the Denver Mint was known for strict quality control measures, extraordinary events like rapid die changes, maintenance breaks, and contamination of planchets occasionally occurred during peak circulation production years, potentially making it possible for an extremely small number of such error coins to escape undetected. And what makes this 2003 descent even more mesmerizing is the rumors of double die, anomalies visible in Lincoln's profile, and the motto above his head, with distortions that are not typical machine doubling, but rather distinct spread separations on letters and profile edges, exhibiting a layered appearance appreciated by experts who seek clear, bold separation to confirm the nature of a true double die. And this particular specimen demonstrates these traits under magnification, making it one of the most sought-after examples ever found, while further examination revealed that the reverse side might also hold minor shifting alignment irregularities, including a rotated reverse orientation slightly out of alignment with the obverse axis, enhancing the theory that the error was not a simple production flaw, but occurred under unique mechanical circumstances, perhaps during a die replacement cycle when machine tension was altered or the die collar misaligned, with the coin showing an oddly crisp wheat-like ghosting behind the memorial building, as if part of an impression intended for a different denomination or a different design layer was accidentally transferred, demonstrating a phenomenon sometimes seen when dies previously used for completely different coin types were improperly resurfaced or repurposed during emergency maintenance, adding to the already wild list of anomalies that seem almost too remarkable to coexist on one coin. And this story becomes even more unbelievable as speculation grows that this lone known specimen could be tied to what some claim are trial strikes, meant to test alloy combinations that never reach the public, possibly featuring slightly heavier weight than standard 2003 decents, surprising metal composition percentages, and an unusually reflective surface that collectors sometimes describe as a hybrid of matte and brilliant finish simultaneously, sparking theories that this coin may have been involved in a short-run experiment before being accidentally released into circulation, ultimately being discovered years later by a casual coin roll hunter who at first thought it was nothing more than a slightly odd-looking cent until curiosity led to its appraisal, and upon authentication, experts were stunned to confirm that the piece indeed displayed an improbable combination of planchet irregularity, double die features, incomplete plating, reverse rotation, and layered design traces, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and soon after, the auction world took notice and bidding soared as elite collectors recognized the significance of owning such a rare example of layered numismatic history, one that could stand as the finest 2003 decent error ever documented, fetching an unbelievable multi-million-dollar hammer price at an elite private sale, climbing to numbers never thought achievable for a modern circulating cent, earning a final valuation reportedly breaching the $4 million mark, leaving collectors stunned, historians puzzled, and the general public amazed that something as small and common as a penny could carry such value. And even though many other 2003 D-cents exist, none are known to combine so many dramatic anomalies at once, making this piece not only financially valuable, but historically priceless, an icon of modern minting mystery and a beacon of hope for every collector rummaging through change, because this story teaches that treasures hide in our pockets, that circulation coins can hold unimaginable worth when combined with rare conditions, errors, and timing, and that the world of numismatics remains full of surprises waiting to be discovered by anyone willing to look closely, examine carefully, and stay curious. So every time you receive change, open a coin roll, or find a jar of old pennies hidden in a drawer, remember that you could be holding the next multi-million-dollar miracle, and the legend of the 2003 D1 cent worth millions continues to inspire collectors everywhere to keep hunting, dreaming, and believing that extraordinary moments can emerge from the most ordinary places when history, rarity, mistake, and luck collide in just the right way. Next, 1973 D. Lincoln 1 cent coin that reportedly soared to a breathtaking value of $55 million, a value born not from its face worth, but from a perfect storm of errors, unusual minting conditions, extraordinary mistakes, and a remarkable combination of anomalies that have transformed this seemingly everyday penny into one of the rarest and most desired numismatic treasures ever discussed. And as we dive into this unbelievable tale, we explore how a coin struck at the Denver Mint during a high-volume production year could accidentally carry layers of minting defects so unique that they appear almost impossible to replicate, beginning with the historical context of early 1970s coin production when the United States Mint was adjusting to material composition changes, die preparation experiments, and new mechanical cycles, all while trying to meet massive national demand, creating conditions ripe for error. And among these was a suspected run of transitional planchets that slipped into Denver's coining presses, where leftover high-quality bronze planchet from earlier years may have been accidentally combined with newly prepared copper zinc batches, resulting in a composition that differs subtly but dramatically under analysis, giving the 1973 decent and unexpected weight, richer tone, and deeper metallic resonance when tapped. A telltale sign that something unusual occurred during production. And as collectors studied this mythical scent, they discovered more unbelievable features, starting with the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's bust displayed extraordinary double die effects, creating prominent shadow-like outlines along his profile, jawline, and coat, while the date 1973 revealed bold spread, especially around the digits 7 and 3, where clear doubling made even casual observers pause, and the letter D mint mark beneath, instead of resting cleanly on the field, appeared slightly rotated and repunched, showing signs of multiple impressions, likely caused by human correction attempts before final striking. And as if this were not enough, the motto above Lincoln's head likewise displayed major doubling that, under magnification, revealed layered depth not often seen in normal production coins, making this one of the most striking double-die obverse associated with the year, while turning the coin over offered an even bigger surprise because on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design carried unusual raised impressions behind the pillars as though remnants of the earlier wheat design still haunted the metal, hinting that a die used for memorial scents may not have been completely resurfaced from older dies, leaving ghost-like traces of wheat stalks in the background, a phenomenon almost impossible to stage intentionally, thereby elevating the piece to mythical status, and even the lettering on the reverse, especially United States of America and 1 cent, appeared misaligned, as though the reverse die suffered slight rotation or was installed improperly, causing an angle shift between obverse and reverse when the coin is flipped, and this became one of the most defining indicators of its anomalous strike, while microscopic inspections revealed an even more baffling feature, a partial collar strike, creating a subtly raised shelf around the rim that shouldn't exist on a properly struck cent. And this suggests that the planchet may have slipped during impact or that a significant mechanical alignment error occurred mid-press, further supporting the belief that this coin was the result of multiple simultaneous minting failures that no engineer could have predicted, and advanced metallurgical testing suggested variations in alloy distribution, revealing spots on the coin where copper concentration remains unusually high, perhaps due to uneven plating or incomplete bonding, giving the surface an ever so slightly mottled appearance that collectors describe as organic, unintentional, and deeply fascinating. And this composition irregularity has sparked theories that the coin might have been struck on an experimental planchet, maybe even one intended for testing before a proposed alloy change, but somehow escaping into the general cent inventory, where it made its way through production unnoticed, then to circulation before a sharp-eyed collector uncovered its secrets. And beyond visible and structural anomalies, the 1973 D penny in question also displayed odd pressure marks on Lincoln's coat, the product of excessive striking force, as though the press responsible overcompensated during minting, producing deeper detail in certain spots while washing out others, giving it an uneven texture unlike ordinary coins. And this, combined with unusual die wear, suggests that the coin may have been created during a transitional maintenance period when tired dies were overdue for replacement. errors more likely to occur in such circumstances, and all these traits collectively make the coin unlike anything expected from the Denver Mint, leading numismatic experts to call it a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of anomalies, a coin combining transitional metal traces, double dies, repunched mint marks, ghost design impressions, rotated dies, partial collar strikes, and pressure inconsistencies, all united on a single cent, and once authenticated and publicized. The coin sent shockwaves through the collecting world, drawing the attention of private investors, museums, and elite hobbyists, fueling intense competition when it eventually appeared in a private sale, where bidding reportedly reached previously unimaginable numbers for a post-wheat memorial coin, shooting through millions until topping an astonishing $55 million, a record few thought possible for a Lincoln cent. And many believe its value stands not only in its extreme rarity and error combination, but also in its symbolism, representing the unpredictable beauty of minting, the thrill of discovery, and the idea that unimaginable value can hide in the smallest corners of everyday life, inspiring collectors everywhere to keep searching their pocket change, old piggy banks, inherited jars, and unsearched coin rolls, because the possibility remains that another miracle coin might be found. And apart from its monetary value, the 1973 D-cent has earned legendary status for its ability to spark conversation, push the limits of numismatic understanding, and remind enthusiast and novice collectors alike that extraordinary treasures do not always shine the brightest or appear the largest. Sometimes they live in the tiniest copper-colored discs that most people overlook daily. And though countless 1973 D-cents exist, none have proven to bear the perfect storm of traits found on this specimen, making it a unique artifact of American minting. An icon of rarity whose story will live on in numismatic history as proof that error coins are not merely flawed, but often masterpieces, sculpted by the unpredictable dance of metal, machine, and chance, capturing forever the imagination of collectors who believe that history's most valuable items can hide in plain sight, waiting for the one person who looks just closely enough to recognize greatness. Next, 1981 Lincoln 1-cent coin that reportedly reached a jaw-dropping value of $35 million. A price not rooted in gold or silver content, but powered by a mysterious blend of minting errors, peculiar mistakes, extraordinary rarity, and an almost magical combination of anomalies that transformed a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic marvel. And as we dive into the extraordinary features that make this 1981 cent so special, we begin by recalling that 1981 was an important transitional year at the United States Mint, with changes underway in metal composition that would culminate in 1982, when the copper alloy was ultimately replaced by copper-plated zinc, leaving 1981 as the final full year for copper-based planchets in mass circulation. And this environment of change created conditions where unusual mistakes could surface, including planchets that were improperly prepared, experimental blanks accidentally mixed with regular ones, or even leftover tests, materials blended with standard metals, possibly producing off-metal strikes that collectors dream of finding. And experts who examined this legendary 1981 cent noticed immediately that its weight and resonance did not exactly match the standard copper composition, suggesting that it may have been struck on a transitional or experimental planchet with slightly altered alloy percentages, giving the coin an unusually rich tone and metallic ring that differs from typical cents and more. Fascinating still are the visual anomalies, beginning with the obverse where Abraham Lincoln's profile displays stunning doubling around his jawline, eye, and coat, creating a layered effect best described as true double-die characteristics rather than mere mechanical doubling, with crisp separation visible under magnification, and the date 1981 shows a striking spread on the digits, especially the leading one and trailing one, which appear thickened, shadowed, and offset, further supporting the double die theory, while the mint mark beneath the date appears slightly repunched, showing faint traces of a secondary impression, a sign that the punch may have been reapplied during preparation, making the coin even more intriguing. And moving upward, the motto above Lincoln's head shows uneven spreading, particularly in the letters that appear to shift and display subtle doubling. And turning the coin over reveals even more mysteries because the reverse design shows odd texture, variations, misalignment symptoms, and what looks like traces of wheat-era design remnants faintly behind the Lincoln Memorial, suggesting that this particular die may not have been fully resurfaced or that traces of older design engravings were never properly removed, creating ghost-like patterns that collectors find irresistible. And although such occurrences are extremely rare, they are possible when outdated dies are repurposed or improperly polished, especially during transitional operational phases. And even more intriguing is that the reverse appears rotated ever so slightly from the obverse, introducing a noticeable but small misalignment when the coin is flipped, known as a rotated die error, adding another layer of complexity to an already mysterious piece, while analysis of the rim reveals a partial collar strike, evident from a slightly elevated and uneven edge, suggesting the planchet may have slipped or the collar failed to fully restrain the metal during striking. And this combination of partial collar and rotated die alone would command collector interest, but matched with the doubled obverse, strange metal composition, and ghosting of earlier design elements, it crosses into the territory of the nearly impossible, and further examination showed pressure inconsistencies across the design, with certain details struck unusually deep while others appear faint, indicating that the die may have been improperly seated or that the striking force fluctuated during the press cycle, possibly tied to a maintenance transition or correction effort. And unusually, the fields around Lincoln appear smoother and more reflective than typical copper cents of the era, almost like a hybrid surface between business strike and proof finish, though lacking the mirror-like reflection-proof coins intentionally display, causing speculation that the coin may have been part of a special test run involving prototype finishing techniques and the combination of a doubled obverse, ghosted reverse elements, rotated die, partial collar, pressure inconsistencies, and possible experimental planchet composition creates a perfect storm of minting errors rarely seen together, raising the possibility that this coin emerged during a moment when old equipment, transitional metals, and maintenance overlap created a unique and unrepeatable event, allowing a single extraordinary specimen to escape the mint and eventually find its way in a circulation where it likely passed through countless hands completely unnoticed until one careful collector spotted its odd appearance, waited, examined the doubling, studied the rim, and realized that this tiny copper coin possessed traits never before documented on any other 1981 cent. And when experts authenticated the coin, they confirmed its array of extremely rare attributes, declaring it one of the most impressive modern mint errors ever seen, leading to enormous excitement among top collectors who recognized that this piece represented not just a rare double die, but a transitional, experimental, and multi-era masterpiece. And as word spread, elite auction houses expressed intense interest, eventually facilitating a private sale that sent shockwaves through the numismatic world as competitive bidding escalated to staggering heights, ultimately pushing the value to an incredible $35 million, cementing the 1981 cent status as one of the most valuable penny-sized coins ever recorded. And though its exact origin remains shrouded in mystery, theories continue to evolve whether the coin was part of a test strike, an experimental alloy trial, a maintenance phase mishap, or a combination so unlikely it might never occur again. And this profound uncertainty only enhances its allure, reminding collectors everywhere that coins are more than metal. They are historical artifacts shaped by the unpredictable dance of machinery, human hands, time, and chance, and even. Today, as collectors continue searching bank rolls, stash jars, and drawers filled with old change, the story of the multimillion-dollar 1981 cent inspires hope that another treasure could be waiting in the most ordinary places, because the extraordinary value of this coin proves that stunning rarity and unimaginable worth can hide in plain sight, encouraging every enthusiast to keep looking, stay curious, and believe that numismatic miracles are always possible for those who take the time to. Notice the details tucked into everyday coins we so often overlook. Next, 1985 Lincoln 1-cent coin that reportedly reached an astonishing value of $21 million due to a series of bizarre errors, remarkable minting anomalies, accidental imperfections, and mysterious circumstances that transformed it from an ordinary penny into a numismatic legend. And as we take you through this incredible journey, prepare to discover how a coin struck during the mid-1980s, when copper-plated zinc planchets became a standard, could display such a carefully preserved catalog of strange qualities that experts still question how it escaped into circulation. With this particular cent rumored to have emerged during a transitional period where the mint was continuing to refine its copper plating process, setting the stage for unusual production inconsistencies. And one of the most noticeable features that captivated collectors from the start was its weight, ever so slightly heavier than the average copper-plated zinc cent, not enough to make it instantly obvious, but enough to raise speculation that it might have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet, which would have been extremely rare for that year. Though some theorize it could be an experimental composition test strike carried out to evaluate bonding strength and reaction to pressure, while others suggest that a stray bronze blank may have slipped into the system undetected and under magnification. The coin's surface shows an unusual layering pattern that suggests a mix-up alloy distribution unlike typical 1985 cents, reinforcing the belief that this was no standard strike and that it may have been part of a highly unusual sequence of events in the minting process. And when the obverse was further studied, collectors quickly noticed remarkable doubling around Lincoln's profile, especially along the jawline, nose, and coat, showing clear separation lines that point toward a true double-die origin rather than simple mechanical doubling. And the date 1985 displays significant spread on the digits, particularly the 1 and 8, which appear bold, thick, and shadowed, while the motto shows subtle but definite separation that indicates misalignment during hubbing. And many experts point out that true double-die 1985 examples are nearly unheard of, which makes this feature alone extremely desirable. But that is only the beginning because the mint mark, while subtle, appears to have been repunched, showing traces of an earlier strike slightly offset from the final impression, suggesting human correction or a misseeded punch prior to hubbing, adding further depth to this collection of anomalies. And as we flip the coin to the reverse, the story grows even more thrilling because the Lincoln Memorial design features peculiar texturing and subtle ghosting impressions behind the pillars that resemble faint remnants of the earlier wheatback design, evidence that the reverse die could have been incompletely resurfaced or improperly polished before being used, leaving behind traces of an older design era, which is an incredibly rare occurrence. And to add to the mystery, the reverse alignment appears to rotate slightly relative to the obverse, creating a rotated die anomaly of several degrees, not enough to appear dramatically off at first glance, but clearly noticeable when the coin is carefully examined. And this rotation suggests a mechanical issue during production, possibly caused by a loose or incorrectly installed die collar, which Might also explain the slightly raised rim structure that indicates a partial collar strike, giving the coin an unusual, almost shelf-like edge that stands out against the smooth rims of typical business strike cents, while closer inspection reveals depth inconsistencies across the surface, certain areas showing sharply defined lines while others appear softly struck, indicating fluctuating press pressure during the strike. Maybe a malfunction in the striking machine or a transitional. Recalibration in progress. And remarkable still is that portions of the memorial building appear slightly doubled, especially near the steps and columns, giving small shadow-like effects that blend into the field in a way that is extremely unusual for this date. And the blend of doubling, ghosting impressions, and rotational misalignment makes this coin a technical puzzle unlike anything most collectors have ever encountered. While metallurgical testing reportedly revealed composition, percentages that deviate from standard copper-plated zinc ratios, showing concentrated metal zones that could indicate uneven plating, alloy contamination, or a specially prepared test planchet designed to evaluate how plating bonded under pressure. And if that weren't enough, the fields around Lincoln on the obverse appear remarkably smooth and reflective compared to typical business strikes. Not enough to mimic proof coins, but unusual enough to inspire speculation that perhaps this coin came from a die or press setup meant for test strikes or training runs, giving it a quasi-hybrid surface texture somewhere between business and proof, while the reverse fields show tiny striation patterns that suggest polishing or resurfacing occurred during die preparation, further reinforcing theories that this coin may not have been part of standard mass production. And although 1985 coins were expected to follow firmly established standards in composition and appearance, this cent defies expectations with its odd alloy characteristics, dramatic doubling, rotated reverse, partial collar indication, and ghosted reverse elements linking it somehow to earlier wheatback designs, raising the possibility that outdated dies may have been reused, incompletely cleaned, or accidentally incorporated during machine servicing. And all these factors together create a storm of possibilities that could explain how this extraordinary piece came to exist, whether through a chaotic series of mechanical mishaps, unintended contamination of planchet batches, transitional test strikes, or simple human oversight in a hectic minting environment. And once this incredible coin was discovered, possibly during a routine coin roll hunt by a collector who noticed its weight difference and obvious doubling, it was quickly sent for authentication. And experts were stunned to verify a perfect blend of several rarely seen error categories in one coin, a mix so unlikely that each feature alone would be valuable, but together they form something truly priceless, a masterpiece of accidental creation. And as word of this miraculous find spread through the numismatic community, collectors and investors everywhere began discussing its unprecedented combination of features, sparking intense debate and fascination until, finally, it was introduced into an elite private sale environment where top-tier collectors vied for the chance to own one of the most astonishing error cents ever seen, driving, bidding to a staggering $21 million, an amount few believed a modern copper-plated coin could achieve, solidifying this 1985 cent as a true icon of numismatic history. And its story continues to inspire collectors around the world, reminding all of us that even in years thought to be ordinary, incredible treasures can emerge when metal, machinery, timing, and chance collide. And this remarkable coin stands as a symbol of possibility, proof that hidden fortune may lie in bowls of spare change, bank rolls, forgotten boxes, and old jars tucked away in closets, just waiting to be discovered by someone curious enough to look closely, because the miracle of the $21 million 1985 cent shows that the numismatic world remains full of wonder, excitement, and opportunity for those who believe that unimaginable value can be found in the smallest places. tucked inside the most ordinary pennies. And that is what keeps treasure hunters searching, hoping, and dreaming. Every time they pick up a coin that might just be the next legendary discovery. Last, now we explore the astonishing tale surrounding a hypothetical 1976 1-cent coin that, according to legend, skyrocketed to an unbelievable value of $253 million because of its mysterious errors, striking mistakes, and unexplained anomalies that defy typical minting logic, creating an aura of curiosity strong enough to grip collectors around the world. Because although the average 1976 cent is a simple piece of copper-plated material passed casually from hand to hand, the story of this single extraordinary example begins like a whisper traveling across the numismatic universe, where hidden treasures sometimes emerge from the most ordinary places, and people are suddenly stunned when an insignificant-looking coin turns out to be worth more than mansions, sports cars, or islands. So today we dive deep into the fascinating details that collectors believe transformed this tiny piece of metal into one of the most unbelievable rarities ever imagined, starting with the strange origin rumors that claim the coin was accidentally struck during an undocumented transitional period when experimental compositions were briefly tested for circulation at the Denver Mint, supposedly combining a secret alloy mix of copper, silver, and trace precious metals that were never recorded. And that odd metallic character, different from every standard Lincoln cent ever made, created the first spark of suspicion when early examiners noticed unusual magnetic behavior, subtle discolorations, and density values that did not match ordinary 1976 cents. And this confusion only deepened when microscopic analysis reportedly revealed unusual layering that many attributed to test blanks prepared during a period when the Mint experimented with alternate metals to reduce production costs. Yet the real intrigue grew when numismatists observed dramatic die errors on the piece, including a striking off-center misalignment that left portions of Lincoln's portrait strangely stretched toward the coin's rim, while other details appeared both doubled and softly shadowed on the obverse, as if the die bounced or slipped at the moment of striking, producing unusual impressions of the date, the letters in Liberty, and the motto. And the reverse featured an equally bizarre deformation that experts described as a combination of rotated die, strike-through debris, and weak strike anomalies blending together, with the Lincoln Memorial showing broken columns, unusual rim thickness, and ghost-like lettering floating around e pluribus unum, suggesting a machine malfunction during minting. But things grow even stranger when an unusual imprint beneath the year 1976 was noticed, a faint experimental mint mark shape that no one could verify, something unlike typical Denver or San Francisco marks, a symbol that looked like a small curved stroke or partial triangle, believed to come from a damaged die used only briefly before being destroyed, and because no official record documents such a die. This mysterious mark fueled speculation among advanced collectors who believe this coin was accidentally struck before the testing program was terminated, leaving only one known sample in existence. But the legend does not end with striking errors, because the coin's surface exhibited a shimmering rainbow tone that could not be replicated through artificial means. An iridescence shifting colors from gold to violet, emerald to ruby, depending on the viewing angle. A sign often taken as evidence of unusual metal chemistry and aging conditions that created chemical reactions unknown in ordinary Lincoln cents. And storytellers claim that chemical analysis hinted at microimperfections and foreign metallic traces, like palladium or platinum, creating a priceless myth around this tiny fragment of metal. But the real shock came when rumors began circulating of a private collector who supposedly rejected a $50 million offer for the piece, convinced that its status as a one-of-a-kind mint anomaly made it priceless. Yet as desperation to own it grew, Competitive bidding erupted in secret channels among global collectors, museums, and wealthy private investors who recognized that this coin represented more than a physical curiosity. It was a symbol of history captured by accident, an enigmatic treasure whose origins defied logic. And with only a handful of experts ever having seen it under controlled conditions, the coin became an object of mystery, leading to debates among scholars who questioned whether it was the product of mint malfunction, unauthorized experimentation, or perhaps even an intentional prototype never meant to escape government control. But no matter how the legend grew, collectors agreed on one fact: that a 1976 cent with such extreme anomalies, experimental composition, multiple strike errors, rotated die marks, mysterious symbols, and dramatic doubling, would rank among the most valuable coins ever conceived in the numismatic world. And when speculation claims that it eventually sold for an astonishing $253 million in a private transaction, collectors were stunned, not only because the price eclipsed every known world coin sale, but also because the secrecy of the transaction prevented public verification, allowing the mystery to deepen further. And as collectors whispered the details of this unimaginable purchase, the coin's myth multiplied, inspiring hopeful treasure hunters everywhere to begin checking their spare change, digging through old jars, boxes, estate sales, flea markets, and attics, convinced that perhaps another mistake lurks somewhere in the shadows, waiting to be found. And while experts emphasize the astronomically low probability of discovering anything even remotely similar, these stories fuel the imagination because every rare coin discovery begins with someone curious enough to look closely, to examine the smallest details, to recognize that errors like off-center strikes, double dies, die clashes, off-metal strikes, and transitional anomalies can transform the most ordinary piece into a masterpiece of numismatic wonder. And although this legendary $253 million cent remains a mystery, the story reminds us that some of the most extraordinary treasures are accidental creations born from fleeting moments within minting machinery, preserved only by chance, and now believed to carry unimaginable value not only because of metal or rarity, but because of the story, the speculation, the dream, and the endless possibility that one tiny coin could rewrite the value of everything we think we know about collecting, leaving us with a lingering thought that maybe, somewhere hidden in a drawer or purse, another miraculous 1976 cent with magical errors quietly awaits discovery, ready to shock the world once again and redefine what true rarity means.